Good morning still. Thanks for showing up, and happy St. Patty's Day. We have the green section over here. If we had an award, we'd give you an award, but we don't. But thank you. Love the spirit. This is our first town hall for 2016, and we're going to walk through some of the slides, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. We do have some HR experts in the room today, so they may be of interest in terms of questions, but they're going to talk about some specific topics as well. So we'll get started, and just a quick little review in terms of the staff council and our role to campus and to staff. We're really an advisory group, and we are wanting to hear things from a bigger perspective as opposed to just an individual issue, if you will. So a broader perspective that we can elevate to President Peterson and his executive team. And we need feedback from you guys whenever. We'll take it at any time. We've got many methods, and you can see on the handout that you have, there's email, there's website, and you can go on the website and provide feedback, that type of thing. So please feel free to provide that. We want that. And we will, hear your perspectives and see what we can do, or whether it's turned into a project. We have listened from the previous town halls, and so one of the things, I'm jumped ahead myself. And let me go back and introduce myself, okay? I'm sorry. And Savannah's online, so we want to welcome Savannah as well. I'm surprised they're actually in the office today. But anyway, my name is Debbie Dorsey, and I'm the chair this year, and we're going to have our vice chair, Laura Pusateri, and then Leslie Hall. She's our secretary. So we're the officers for council, and then we have committee chairs, and you'll see their names in a second or two. But we have 6 new members. Each year we will add new members because other members will roll off. And so these folks coming on will have a 3-year term. And so we have Anthony Bridges out of athletics, and David Brown. David, are you in the room? Where are you? Stand up. Come on. He's out of facilities. And Anthony had a prior commitment that he could not get out of, so he sends his regards. And Tina, I know Tina's in the room. Where are you? Well, no, she's way back there in the back. So Tina Klontz and Cheryl LaFoy. She's also out of athletics, and she is working with the NCAA Women's Swimming and Diving Championship this week. So her commitment is to that at this point in time because it's a very, very, very large project. And then Marquise, where are you? You're here. Marquise Stevens out of GTRI. And we have Kara. Come on, Kara, stand up. Kara Joy Wong. All right, so those are our new members, and they will be on the council for 3 years. All right? And in talking about listening from previous town halls and just feedback that we've received, one of the programs that we've initiated for this year is called the Inform Georgia Tech series. So we'll have 4 of them this coming year. We had one in February. It's over in the Clary Theater. It was standing room only. We were very excited. It was great success. That was, anybody in the room go to that one? So about the tech color of money. So the purpose of these is really just to give you a broader picture of campus and educate you on some things that perhaps you're not necessarily directly involved with on a day-to-day basis, or you may read about things, but you don't know all the specifics. And so that was really about where we spend our money, where the money comes from, how it's divided up, what you can and can't do with the money, those types of things. So it was a well-received session, and we're looking forward to the one we have in May as well, which will be regarding higher education legislation. And you've obviously heard Georgia Tech's name and the gun carry and all those kinds of things in the news. So those are the types of things that Danae would talk about. So we're looking forward to that. And then we've got 2 more scheduled for August and November. And we are looking for feedback. If there's a particular topic that you might like to hear about, we would like to hear from you. So you could put it on a note card that you have today. You can send it to us online. Tell us in person, whatever that might be. But let us know, and we'll see if we can make that happen. Okay? So we're going to do a little shifting of speakers as well.
So we have about again, like I said, 60 people who are going to be working on various initiatives throughout the rest of this calendar year as our committee members. And anyone here in the room is welcome to come to any of the committee meetings. You're welcome to also come to any of our staff council meetings. So we'll have those listed on our website, staffcouncil.godtech.edu. We'd love for you to come, share your opinions, share your ideas, let us know what your thoughts are. But we'd also love to recognize those of you who are here in the room who are part of our committees. If you could, if those of you who have been selected to our 2016 committees, if you could just stand and be recognized briefly. Yay! So thank you so much for your service, and these are your reps too if you'd like to talk to them about anything, any issues that are pertaining to those 5 topics. Okay, so then our next piece of info that we wanted to share with you all is, you may be wondering, I know some of you were here last year sitting in this room in October, or maybe you came to see us at one of our staff town halls in the spring. You've heard a little bit about what we've been doing, but you're kind of wondering, okay, it's been a year now, what's happening? So the staff council from last year put together an annual report that we will also have posted on our website. There you can read about key accomplishments, some initiatives that all the 5 committees were undertaking, and also what the overall staff council was doing. And we're going to kind of talk about those a little bit in just a moment. But we certainly wanted you to know that in the 2 town halls that we had and the various emails and communication that you've provided to us, we tried our best to be able to take a lot of those issues either to upper administration or to the departments who are representative of those areas and discuss the challenges or the ideas with those parties. So thank you for communicating with us. I guess we're having to do the lapel switch.
Oh, sure. I'd love to.
Just wherever. Yeah, there you go. Okay, sorry, just the handoff.
Okay, so one more time, as chair of the Employee Engagement Committee, we wanted you all to know the progress that we made since our last town hall. A few of you, if you remember, or if you did attend our last town hall and you participated in that poll where we asked you a few questions about recognition for staff, and we heard everything that you had to say, and we took all of the results from that and put it into a proposal that we drew up and gave to OHR to review. And so where we're at right now is that OHR has reviewed it. They gave us a few suggestions, and we are going to go back to them and upper leadership this summer with a more concrete budget proposal to accompany those initiatives that were in the recognition proposal. And hopefully when we come back in October, there's been some movement and we can give you some updates. But we did want to let you know that your voices were heard when you took that poll, and we're hoping for some great progress in that direction.
I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to everyone. My name is Brandon Conkle. I'm Director of Total Rewards. I have 2 standard things that I always say when I come up in front of groups. 1, I'm the only Conkle in the directory, so it's really easy to track me down. And 2, my dad has 3 degrees from Georgia Tech, and my mother worked in the library. So in my professional career, this is the only job that I've ever had that they actually care what I do on a daily basis. So at the end of the week, I do a performance report back to them. So we'll hopefully get up to date and up to speed. But again, as I go through these pieces, if there's something that I don't cover or you need to grab me afterwards, feel free to do so. So one of the great things that we're really excited about is educational support leave. This actually is a opportunity. It's 8 hours every calendar year. It doesn't roll over. It doesn't get paid out if you leave. But it's a chance and an opportunity to encourage involvement primarily with secondary and high school education. So again, I'm not going to read directly from the slide. You guys are literate. But again, the key pieces here, an opportunity for people, not parents. So you can do this whether or not you have children of your own. You can be involved if you have a niece, a nephew. It may not even be any relation. You may just want to go and be involved in a child's education as part of the volunteer process. You can do that. It's 8 hours paid leave per calendar year. It doesn't roll over. It doesn't get paid out. Like vacation, you do have to approve it ahead of time. And you can report it easily now. So we want to, I see Leslie, I see Mary Ann, so we want to thank the folks in HRIS and OIT for helping get everything set up in timeout so it's easier to report. You know, when we first rolled this out, people were tracking it manually, and now it's a little bit easier to track out. Now, a lot of questions we get because this is a new policy, or newer, it came out last year, but it's still not, people aren't used to it yet. Some folks haven't heard about it. So we get questions about, give me examples of where it can be used for. Parent-teacher conferences, going to a graduation, volunteering to read for younger children. Again, this is about, the idea is that we're encouraging involvement with elementary and secondary education. Now, we also get questions like, my child is graduating from karate class, can I go? Well, let's think about that. If it's part of a PE class as part of a school, maybe. But again, that comes back to, even then, it's approved by your manager. So it's not, hey, I'm not at work today because I'm at my son's school. It's, I'm planning to go to my son's school on XYZ date. So any questions about that? We got some examples over here in terms of, so again, without receiving compensation, so you're not a paid tutor, right? You're not getting double paid to go. Participating in activities and field trips. Do we have any questions about that? Yes?
Do we have any schools that we already have an understanding with to accept people wanting to volunteer?
So the question is, do we have any ongoing relationships with schools that are kind of already pre-approved to take volunteers? The answer, I believe, is that some of the colleges already have relationships with some of, for example, some of the tech magnet schools in the area. I don't have a list of what those are, but I will reach out and I will try and find some examples of schools where we do have that kind of relationship, and I will share them back with staff council. Yes?
Can you break the time up? Can you use the 4 hours? Yeah. You got to use the whole 8 hours at one time.
So the question is can I break the time up into smaller increments as opposed to taking a whole day at once? And the answer is yes. Again, with the pre-approval of your manager. Anything else? All right. So again, using the leave to welcome a child. And again, this is a joyous event. This is something where your mind is on other things than paperwork. We did have a focus group, and I think we may have had a couple of folks that were in that focus group, here today. But again, what we're looking for is examples of how we can make that leave process better. So when you go out on a maternity leave, you're usually doing a couple things all at once. We're balancing your benefits, you're balancing your time out, which usually is a combination of sick, maybe vacation, but it's also an unpaid FMLA leave for a number of people, which is a specific type of leave. And in that process, we know you're doing paperwork, your local HR rep is doing paperwork, we're doing paperwork at the central OHR office, and we're trying to make that balance. So we're trying to streamline that process to make it a little bit more intuitive. I jokingly say that we've been working on what to expect when you're expecting kind of checklist, and yeah, we'll have to give some type of copyright notice to the book. But we're working on those things to make it a more intuitive process. You see this next piece coming up April 13th, so a Be Well session. One thing I would say is that in some cases, if people think maternity leave and they think that this will be all about females, if you are a husband and your wife is going out on maternity leave at her business, or just how do we balance that for benefits and those kind of things, there may be some things that might be helpful for a husband to come and listen to as well. So again, it's Be Well, it's open up for everybody. Some process reminders. Again, we're talking about balancing a lot of stuff, and where we see some folks kind of miss, again, vacation or sick time is available, and then short-term disability. So a couple of years ago, the policy changed so that it used to be that you could use sick and vacation while you were on short-term disability. That changed a couple of years ago. So we know some folks that had a child, pause, had another child, and then the policy had changed in between. So they kind of had a little bit of a brick wall moment of, well, I thought this is the way it happened. It's always safer to come in, do a check-in with your local HR person and with OHR, and we have a specialist, Athena, Jones, who handles leaves for us. And we can make sure you're up to date on what the current policy is at any given point in time. Family Medical Leave Act, again, that's an unpaid leave, but it protects your job while you're out, and you see the criteria of when you're covered by there. Benefits continuation, if you're out on an unpaid leave, an STD, which pays you at 60% of your earnings while you're out on short-term disability, doesn't come through paycheck. So there's no opportunity for us to bill you through the paycheck for your benefits. So benefits continuation while you're out on unpaid leave actually comes through the bursar's office. And then you have 30 days to add the newborn after the birth of the child. And again, that 30-day limit is actually an IRS limit. It's not a USG policy. It's something about, it's a cafeteria plan in terms of the days to add the child to the benefits package. So any questions about that? All right, I will, yes, a hand in the very far back.
For benefit continuation, when you say the bursar, go through the bursar's office, you may send a bill to your home. Do you have to come in every month and pay?
Okay, so the question is exactly how that benefits billing will work through the bursar's office. And the answer is that the bursar will send a bill. Now, they will also take, if you know ahead of time, and if anyone here is in the bursar, this is a great thing about staff council, right? I can say this is what happens, and someone can raise their hand and say that I'm right. The downside of that is someone can raise their hand and say you're wrong too, but I'm right about this one. If you walk in, as long as they know you're on leave, if they haven't sent the bill yet, but it's in their system, they will let you write the check. So you can come in and pay as well. So it doesn't have to be through the mail. It doesn't have to be that kind of way. Now, key point that I said there, in the system. So all that paperwork that we're talking about in the background, and again, this is for any unpaid leave, so maternity, FMLA, whatever. If the paperwork in the underlying system isn't correct, the systems won't talk to each other in the appropriate way. And you think about the payroll schedule and payroll effective dates, which I'm getting down to the detail, and I'm sorry, I'll bring it back up here in a little bit. All those things have to align, which are all things that most folks aren't thinking about when they go out on leave, which is why it's important to touch base with your HR contact and rep. Was there another hand? Okay. The Federal Fair Labor Standards Act. Now, this is the thing that gets me going in the morning. I do jumping jacks. I take Valium. I get shakes, sweats, whatever. So the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act is a law that was passed out of the Great Depression. And one of the key things about the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act is it gives everyone the right to overtime. It gives everyone the right to overtime unless you can prove as a company that a person meets certain criteria to exempt them from overtime. So have you ever heard a salaried person being called exempt? If you're salaried, you're exempt from the overtime provisions of the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act. So again, this law that was originally written in the 1930s, last year there was a new set of rules. They proposed updating it. There was a comment period. The comment period closed in terms of the fall. And what we're expecting is a final rule set in terms of a new update to the law to come out sometime after July 1 of this year. Once it comes out, we'll have somewhere between 60 and 120 days to comply. So again, a federal law that affects overtime. And if we can. So when we talk about exempting someone, there are two pieces. The duties test. Now I'm going to start over here. So the duties test talks about whether you're an executive, administrative, what types of decisions, what type of scope of job you have. That's open to interpretation. The salary test says before I ever get to the duties test, you have to make at least a certain amount of money. Right now, that's $23,660 on a projected annual basis. Now, teachers, so academic instructors, there's no salary limit. But for most of the folks in staff roles, right now you have to be making more than $23,660 to even be considered exempt. There we go. The new proposal, and some nice yellow highlights here. So current standard is at 23,660, not 23 flat, so we'll fix that, or $455 a week. The proposal for 2016 is that 23,660 will move to 50,440. A big jump up. Now, the reason for that and what the idea behind that is again, you go back to the 1930s, the original law covered about 40% of the population in terms of saying you will have overtime. The 50,440 is designed so that it will cover 40% of the current working population. So it's kind of moving us back to move us forward. There are currently around 900 people that are currently salaried, exempt from the overtime provisions of the Federal Fair Labor Standard Act, that are making less than this 50,440. So these are a group of folks, and some of you may be in this room, where depending upon what the final rule set comes by, we'll have to take a look at your job and potentially make you non-exempt. This came to us from CUPA, so College and Universities Professional Association, so we want to share, again, this is just common titles, but it's going to impact all staff units, all academic units, all these pieces in terms of whoever's below that threshold for the salary limit and what those impacts may be. So if you move from exempt to non-exempt, obviously, you're eligible for overtime, which it's interesting, right? Folks that are hourly keep talking about, hey, I wish I was salaried so I would be white collar. Folks that are salaried say, if only I was being paid overtime. Your wish may come true. I'm sorry. Oh, I see Wanda's taking a picture. I thought she was raising her hand. So now you're going to be paid hourly. You're going to be required to track and report time. You'll be on the bi-weekly schedule, not the monthly schedule in terms of payroll. You may have more set hours, right? There's a certain amount of freedom in your work schedule if you're salaried. Well, now you're going to be tracking your hours. You'll be reporting time. In terms of what we talk about in terms of cost, so we could move everyone up to 50,440. That costs multiple millions of dollars. And then you have the issue of someone that was at 30,000 moving up to 50,440, who is now sitting beside someone that was at 50,000, and now we move them up to 50,440. Well, one person got a jump, a big jump, one person got a little jump, but now you're in the same bucket. That seems inherently unfair, at least as we think about it. The other thing you could do is I can convert everyone to hourly, just where you are, and pay overtime. Now, we did some studies. We started looking at overtime, and we said, we're a family-friendly place. Everyone has work-life balance. Let's make an assumption about how much overtime people are working. And we started talking about this in OHR, and then we said, well, everyone else must work less than us. So let's assume that they work X number of hours. And we started going out and talking to units, and folks looked at us like, no, my people work more than that. So when we originally did it, we were saying, well, this might be an extra $1.7 million of overtime cost on an annual basis. And as we got the feedback, which was what we like, that's why we go out and talk to people and try and say, well, what's real out there? Because, again, if you're exempt, we're not tracking your hours. We need your managers and you to tell us how many hours realistically you're working. So we went from 1.7 million hours, again, to about a $5 million projected overtime cost. So again, we're about $5 to $6 million either way. You could hire new staff. Well, again, one of our last projections, we used 5 hours of overtime a week. So 4 weeks, 20 hours of overtime, but that means you're paying them time and a half on 20 hours. So that's a 35-hour person. That's a new FTE. And that's the last projection that we did. But again, some folks are saying, well, maybe I have an opportunity to keep everyone flat, not work overtime, but hire new staff. Some folks are saying, I don't have any space to hire new staff. Again, we're trying to get that feedback from the units in terms of what's going on. Outsourced labor. So again, I won't hire someone new, but I'll bring on a temp from a third-party agency to cover some of the stuff. Not that I'm letting anyone go, but I'm just bringing temps on. Comp time. So USG is updating its comp time policy. Comp time means I don't pay you the overtime, but I give you within the quarter an opportunity to take paid time off equal to the overtime amount that you had. They're taking a look at that policy. So does everyone understand so I work 10 hours of overtime. Somewhere, sometime in that quarter, you have to give me 15 hours of paid time off. So 10 hours of overtime, time and a half, converts to 15 hours of comp time. Now that comp time does get paid out if you leave, or some mix of all the options. And where we are right now is we're scheduling meetings with different units, different local HR, different budget people, different financials, different managers, trying to figure out, okay, this unit says that they'll manage everybody without overtime. This unit says they can't manage, they have to have the overtime. Making that map of what's going on across the campus so that we can come up with something realistic to propose so that we're consistent across the campus, especially for titles that exist across campus. Now, the other thing we're also waiting on is USG to give us some guidance. So USG will also give us some guidelines in terms of we expect all of this type of title to be exempt or non-exempt as well. And that's kind of where we are. And this is a big change. This is going to affect, again, 900 people. So you think about staff, you know, a good chunk of the staff population that you're either probably sitting beside someone or know someone that's going to be impacted by this. So what questions do you have?
I have a question. Is there a current policy right now on the books for overtime and comp time?
So comp time, there is a policy on overtime. It's called the FLSA policy. It may actually be embedded within, it may be embedded in the time and labor policy. So it may not be a standalone policy, but there's a section in there around we will be compliant at all points of time with the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act. Comp time is a reference. Right now at Georgia Tech, comp time is mostly used for the police department and some of the folks at Stamps. But again, as part of this, USG is going to open up their comp time policy. So of course we have to follow the USG policy. So as USG opens up their policy to make it a little bit more clear and a little bit more open for use across other functions, we will do the same. Did I answer your question? Okay. What else?
Hi. After July 1st, then what? What happens in the units? Because I know there are probably about 60 employees in athletics that are going to be affected. Are we going to be working with somebody from comp? Has there been any type of game plan for what happens after this legislation is passed?
So everyone heard the question because you had the microphone. So the answer is yes, in terms of putting together the game plan. There will be a game plan. But the game plan has to be informed by these earlier conversations about learning about what's going on. Because again, I'll use the overtime example. I asked my team to, hey, model this out for all 900 people. Let's do the cost. And mentally, I'm like, yeah, use 5 hours of overtime a month. Folks will have ebbs and flows, but we'll be there. Well, then what we found out is some people are saying, well, listen, for this job, and I don't want to use real jobs, so let me widget handler 1. They're saying this group of people works 10 hours of overtime in this college a week, so 40 hours at time and a half, and then over here, they're like, oh, no, yeah, they work flat 40. It'll be much cheaper for us to move this person up to $50,440 than it is to pay them the overtime. Or to pay them the overtime versus moving up to the $50,440. But in this college, the cost is different. but I have two people in the same job title, I can't treat them differently. So right now, the game plan is we're collecting that information so that we can make informed decisions and informed recommendations. In terms of July 1st, now July 1st is our budget year. What we're expecting is that anytime after July 1st is when we'll get the final rule. Now that may be as late as August. Whenever it comes out, we'll have somewhere between 60 and 120 days to comply, based upon the last time they did an update to FLSA. At that point, we will probably have some templated communications in terms of, we know some managers aren't very comfortable talking to employees about pay. We know that from Merit. Here's a letter. Your increase is, We will probably have something like that we will share so that managers can have that conversation. You were at XYZ rate, you will continue to be at XYZ rate, but effective this date, you will be on a biweekly payroll. You will convert to non-exempt. Those are the things, and again, depending upon when they come out, we'll have to choose payroll effective dates, all those little behind-the-scenes system pieces to make sure people's pay flows through correctly. Am I answering your question? Am I getting too far into the weeds? Okay. Anything else? All right, I want to be respectful of the time. I think I may be a little bit over. But again, I am the only Conkle in the directory. I'm easy to track down.
Is that a C or a K?
Well, that I'm not going to tell you. Actually, it is C, C-O-N-K-L-E. And I know from history that I am easy to track down. So thank you so very much for your time.
Good morning. My name is Lawana Ellis. I work in the College of Engineering, and I'm also the chair of the Communication Committee. I am here to encourage you to jot down the next date for our town hall, which will be October 4th. We actually have 3. We did have one this morning. We have another one this afternoon, and we'll do the same thing October 4th. So please mark your calendars to attend. I also want to encourage you to take note of all the activities that are happening on campus. Georgia Tech is a big campus with a lot of activities going on. So whether you're looking for something related to health and wellness, benefits, science and technology, we even have an event that recognizes or honors the memory of people that have died in the previous year. Then we have a celebration to recognize staff achievements. So I encourage you to just take note in the Daily Digest, on the campus calendar, the things that are going on campus, and to get involved in those. I do want to call attention to our April 19th staff council meeting and let you know that our meetings, unless otherwise noted, are open. So you're all welcome to attend and just see how the staff council conducts business, bring your ideas, listen to what's going on. So just take note of these things as well as other opportunities coming up, and please plan to attend as your schedule allows.
Can you guys hear me okay? There we are. Good morning, everybody. My name is Craig Womack, and we're ready for question and answers, right? So you guys should have a note card if you want to write down your question. I'll give you a moment to do that. We can take those up, but we also have my colleague, Alex Gutierrez, in the back, who will walk around with his microphone and answer any questions. Just like the classroom, who's going to go first? I know we're standing between you and lunch, right? Oh, okay. I'll come right back to you. I'm sorry.
Hi, Craig.
Hi.
So my question is regarding the educational support leave. Is there any consideration around expanding it beyond 8 hours?
Sure. So not at this time. I'm not aware of any. At the same time, we are always looking at ways that we can maximize our benefits package, both at Tech and advocating up to USG with new ideas in terms of new things we can be trying. In terms of educational leave, it came out last year, so we're 1 year into it. I think we're probably going to be another year in terms of seeing how it tracks and how it's being used across the system, because this is not just a Georgia Tech policy, it's a USG policy. And we might be able to come back at that point in time. So Unfortunately, no, not looking to expand it at this point in time. But again, I won't say it's not going to be on the table sometime in the future.
Hello, my question was, can we get a copy of all this that we're being presented to today?
Will this be out on the website? So we'll have all this information uploaded on the website for everybody. And then also our annual report, correct, will be out there. Great. Who's next?
Has there been any movement on any paid parental leave for Georgia Tech, or for, I guess, IMG employees?
Right back to you, Bacon.
Sure. So everyone heard the question. So it was about paid parental leave. This is going to be a really similar question. So if I repeat myself, or a really similar answer. So at least at one point within probably twice in the last 2 years, I know that both we and UGA have presented a proposal for paid parental leave up to the USG. Paid leave, in terms of all that policy, sits at a USG level. So are we close to being able to flip a switch on paid parental leave? No. Is the discussion becoming more and more factual and fact-driven and going from a pie in the sky, gee, wouldn't it be nice to, let's look at what some costs would be if it went into place? The answer is yes. But again, I'm not going to be able to say that it'll happen next year or this year or anything like that. Is that a fair response?
Fair, but it's frustrating.
I'll take fair but frustrating.
Yeah,
I want to make sure they heard that. So
Oh,
they
okay.
want to say it officially?
Yeah. Officially, it was fair but frustrating, which should be on the bottom of my business card.
Are there any questions that you guys want to pass down to the end of the row that Alex can pick up that we can address? Any questions for the microphone? Oh, got a question here. So the question is a session on Georgia Tech hiring decision for internal employees. I'm not sure. Can we?
Can the staff council have a session on the internal decision making for hiring for employees moving within? It's a clear process, but at the same time not clear process.
So the question, if I understand it, is for employees who want to move internally across campus, what the process is, and perhaps if we've come back to the conversation many times about internal employees at the same pay level, that if you move internally, you don't get additional compensation. Is that, or am I directing you into a question?
The process is done in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Promotional standpoint. Okay, so what I can say is that we will take this, and this will be something that we can figure out as staff council. That'll probably, our friends in human resources, chat with them and see exactly what we need to do to get that information out. So I don't think I can really answer that right now. Gotcha, so I'll take this additional questions about that. So is there did I miss anything? Does anybody want to jump in on that? I think I understand what she's asking, and we can talk about it in staff council and circle back around. Sure.
Yeah, we can certainly work with HR.
Could you reiterate the question? I didn't quite hear.
Sure, I think it's, sure, definitely. The question is about a session for Georgia Tech hiring decision for internal employees. So I think basically it's asking how internal employees can move around within other jobs on campus. Who's next?
Reflect, ladies and gentlemen, reflect. I'm sure you may have a question, concern, or idea, or write it down. But everybody knows you, so either way, just anything, please.
I know you're thinking if they quit talking, you get 10 additional minutes for lunch, right? Nobody else? Any cards to pass in? Anything you guys want to add down here on staff council? Any members?
I have a question. How many people were aware of the educational leave? Can you repeat it? 'Cause
Sure, and I had the same question. How many people knew about that 8 hours educational? I must be living under a rock personally because I didn't know about it. Who didn't know about it? Okay, good. I'm keeping some good company.
I actually use it to go accompany my son on a band trip.
Wonderful. Yes, question.
I found out about it by someone talking in the office overhearing them, so I didn't necessarily see anything, I might have missed it, via email. And I don't think our supervisors really know about it, kind of heard about it. So my question, I have one, is basically when things get rolled out like this, how are they going to disseminate to the higher ups so they understand that this is something that we're not making up and that we have support behind this?
Thank you for the question. We'll come back to how a manager would know you're not making something up. Probably a different part of HR can handle that. So we know we have opportunities in terms of our communication out, and we're working on those. So we typically communicate out via, email. That's traditionally been what we've done. And then we share with the local HR reps and contacts, once a month in something called the HR Conversations meeting. One of the things that OHR is doing now is we're trying to do more direct to employee communication and more direct to manager communication. So I think we've had educational support leave in the whistle within the past few months. We're trying to do more things like this, coming out and getting it spoken to. And then the other piece of it, again, and I'll make this offer just for my team, I'm sure the other folks in HR would agree, but if there's something where you have a manager or you want to suggest to your manager, hey, wouldn't it be great to have Comp and Ben come out and do a department meeting with us? We're glad to do it. That is one of the goals and objectives for my team this year, is to get out more, put names with faces, and give you guys a chance to know not just that Brandon Conkle's the only Conkle in the directory, but here's the team that's under me, and that we are the ones that can help get that education out. Is that a fair response? All right, so fair but not frustrating. I'm moving up.
Hi, hello everyone. Okay, great. Hi, my name is Ashley Wiggs. This is more of a comment and not a question. In reading over your handout, I was looking at the ERGs, and I just want to make note that they no longer live within the OHR realm. We are happy in the diversity, and Institute Diversity to now have Pearl Alexander and Cheryl Cofield as part of our team. So if you have signed up on this link, this ERG link, with OHR and have not received a response, it is because it is now a dead link. And they actually live on the Institute Diversity website. I'm working right now to make sure that everyone who did sign up within the past few months is receiving communication, but it was just a little bit of a transition frustration. So just making sure that everyone knows that you are alive and well, they are living in the Institute Diversity website.
Thank you for that. We'll make sure that we noted. I understand that it's still on the OHR website, and that's where we pulled the information for that. So we'll make sure that we circle back around on ours as well. But thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
So I noticed on the website that there are 4 nursing rooms on campus, and I feel like we need to do more. I don't have a horse in this fight. I don't have any kids or anything, but it just seems like as large as the campus is, we should do a little bit better than 4 nursing rooms on campus. That's just.
So I see a hand back here. Can you address, I don't know how many there are on campus.
Hi, my name is Nicole Brown. I am in the Institute Diversity office. Yes, we handle those nursing rooms, which is one in the student center, one in Tech Tower, and actually 2 in Tech Tower. Unfortunately, there was a renovation there not being used. Shell College Business and Class, thank you. When the house is actually activated. If you have any questions in regards to that, Stephanie Duplessis, you can email to her and myself, Nicole Brown. in regards to any questions or concerns about that. We understand that OHR had reached out to us before to get some more information and try clarifications and that packet about what to expect when expecting. I do believe so. If they can keep communication with us, we can get something more solidified if you have no questions or concerns about the links. I know we were reached out, another area to start another room, so I can't say exactly the location yet, but if you wanted to contact us and request this, and then call around myself and just do the rest of the office, send us an email, and we'll work with you on something.
Okay, absolutely, yeah, I would definitely love to do that, because I think that it's not, I guess, audacious or like out of the ordinary to want more on campus, because where I originally worked at the University of Iowa, keep in mind that this was like a major, hospital nearby, but it just seemed like if we're working on a campus, when we're family focused, we need to have a family focused look holistically, not just in, platitudes or certain circumstances.
But I understand, one of the things, when we have to do a makeshift,
Okay.
because someone's on the side of campus they can't get to because they're here for a class or what have you, we've had people on campus, I'm gonna say males, that have been very helpful in doing a makeshift, just in case. So I can see the campus community is definitely interested in it and willing to help us. So as I stated, answer the questions, and myself and Nicole Brown, email us, we'll work with staff council, see what we can do. Because we're actually definitely interested in campus. Where is Frank? Get engaged when it comes to expecting mothers and.
Hey, Frank, in the back there, I was asked, do you have anything that you want to add to that from your perspective? Any additional information or anything? Okay, all righty.
On an individual basis, when we do renovations, major renovations, we always look at that, look for opportunities to put those kind of facilities in the building.
Good deal. To let everybody know, we are recording audio today for our questions so that we can take everything, transcribe it, and then get it back out to the website and provide additional information if we haven't been able to answer that today. And thank you for that question. I've been here 17 years and did not know that we only had 4 facilities on campus. So.
In the school that I work in, our chair took a couple classrooms and reserved them, set them aside just for reasons for nursing, faculty, candidates, doing whatever they need to do. So this is what we've done in our department.
Wonderful.
We just took a small conference room just for that purpose.
Great, thank you. Everybody, thank you for coming out today. We've got a class at 12 o'clock. I think we have a gentleman trying to grab a seat right now. So thank you guys for coming out.